Welcome back to some more Create Integrated. Man, it feels so good every time I pop into the Create Integrated world. There's just so many things to do, and I'm so excited to try them all out. And over the last few episodes, we've automated a ton of things that allow us the opportunity to create and play around with some really fun gizmos and gadgets. And I mean, we've done everything from automating XP to using cute little crabs to automate diamond production. And even though we've done a whole lot of different stuff to, for example, automate corium and many other progression-based things, there's still one thing that I have yet to do this entire series, which I would have typically done at the beginning of a series. And what exactly is that? Well, a mob farm. But whoa. Hear me out. This isn't going to be a normal mob farm. I'm not going to build some massive tower in the sky. Oh, just instead, I'm going to build a pocket dimension. And inside that pocket dimension, I'm going to put little moosemen and let moosemen harvest the life essence from captured mobs inside of a jar. You know what? It does sound really crazy. And yes, you heard me right. Little moosemen. Oh, wait. Oh, you were meaning the pocket dimension part, right? Ah, yes. Now, this pocket dimension that I speak of was recently added in an Ars update, and this is so cool, and I really want to try this out. And that's kind of what this has sort of been. It's been like a journey trying out new things. But the Planarium is a new feature, allowing us to jump into a pocket dimension, and whatever we put in this pocket dimension renders in the jar. And now, using the Planarium for an actual mob farm, a drigmy mob farm specifically, I think is super fitting. I mean, just look, the containment jar is how we actually get mobs and are able to farm them. And you actually use a containment jar inside the Planarium, which is going to be kind of funny because this is almost like we're putting ourselves in a containment jar. That's weird to think about. I am going to need a stabilized warp scroll. Doesn't have to be to any specific location or anything, just a regular stabilized warp scroll. And just a single conjuration essence. And if I can push past the crabs, I will take myself a singular diamond. And the containment jars? Well, we're going to be making quite a lot of those today. And after putting all of those things together, we're going to get ourselves a planarium. I think I'm saying that right. Planarium. It's like a mini planet. Is that where the name comes from? I would love to know the origin story. Okay, there it is, all rendered upside down in its beauty. The Planarium. Now, I'm going to place it right here for right now, but something that you might want to have on you is a Dominion one, because it does tell us that we can customize some stuff. Now, at the moment, I don't have cross-dimensional access to my stuff, so I'm just going to take some blocks here so we can see what this actually looks like. Okay, it says cast a name or set it on the anvil to create a dimension. Okay, so we can actually use a name spell to be able to do this. Interesting. All right, so let's do projectile and then name. And this will allow us to name this automatically. And I'm assuming whatever we name it is what the dimension will be called. So, I need to come up with something interesting. And after a little bit of deliberating, the name, outsourcing? That sounds so nice. Hub, maybe? Outsourcing hub? Get it? Okay, it's not that great. But now with the actual spell renamed, I shift right click, and then that should assign it. Maybe I have to hit the bottom of it. And now it says outsourcing hub. Perfect. When we right click this now, or shift right click. Oh, that is so trippy. We are inside of the jar now. Okay, and then it looks like this is set up in a 2x2 instead of a 3x3. So we can place a few blocks in here, much like we do there. Perfect. And now to get out, we can break any spot, or if you want to change your actual spawning location whenever you pop back in here, I believe you just right click or shift right click, and then you set the spawn point of the jar. And then to get out, you just break any of the block or try to break them. And it's supposed to render what's inside. Oh my goodness, there it is. It has now rendered it. That is actually kind of cool. So you could use this as your own custom decoration source by building whatever you want inside of here and placing this as a decoration piece. And now the actual size of this thing does seem like it fits perfectly within the chunks. So yes, we would technically want to claim this and then chunk load these 4 chunks. And it's basically a 4 chunk loader. That is epic. So now that I've experimented with this and I can actually see kind of how it functions, I need to start thinking about how are we going to set up a drigmy farm in here. And you know what? I think I have a fantastic idea. We can transport lava into here through an ender tank, and we can actually get the lava from the nether because we are still pumping lava from the nether. And now that we have access to this, we could just utilize our system that we have there so we don't have to mess with the current lava that we're generating here. And because we've recently automated the corium ingots, creating ender tanks and ender chests and things like that of that nature, that is all super doable now, as that was technically a pretty big milestone towards our tech. Now, sorry to interrupt, but I did want to mention, yes, I did actually put this together. You may have noticed it a little bit ago. I did want to cover up the building a little bit and add some decoration to our processing area. And I wanted this to kind of just look like a little warehouse area, just like a little storage bay that is doing the processing. Didn't want to build anything major over here because it doesn't really seem like something major would fit. But yes, I did do a little bit of decoration. But anyways, back to drigmying. Now, when it comes to the drigmy charms and actually getting these tokens, we have a couple of different options. For one, we can go out and we can hunt for the little drigmies and toss them the little Wilden horns. Wilden horns, you should be able to get by using the tablet of Summon Wilden and not actually converting it into a boss one. And these guys will eventually summon. But we could get lucky and we could get one as a trade. All I have to do is go grab one of the villagers out of our container. Oh, we've got a lot of villagers now, and try and get one of these. I think it would be a good idea to have one of these, and we can do like an item frame, for example. This would be kind of funny. We can store our villagers in an item frame. You know what? This feels way more cursed than I thought it was going to, but I can start to level these guys up and kind of see where this goes. And look, Mage Bloom Fiber, that's actually something that I have a ton of. And call me super lucky, but looky here. We also got Wixie tokens, which by the way are kind of a pain to get. And we did get drigmy tokens this go around, and it's going to cost us 20 emeralds on this bad boy. So I think that is a great way to go about getting these things. It does save you a ton of time because just locating them can be kind of difficult, especially if you're on a server where you're trying to share all of the spawns with everyone else. It can become quite a hassle. But yes, I want to buy as many as I can for right now. I would prefer to have about 16 drigmies or so to be able to actually farm these things. And I know it seems kind of wild, but yeah, 16 drigmies is going to be very necessary, I think, to make the farm efficient. To make the actual drigmy charm, we are actually going to need several different things like some fish, wheat, apples, carrots, also some seeds, and also some source gems. Got all of those supplies here, and then I just need, well, some hoppers to make this automation a little easier. With everything hoppered in, it's just a matter of tossing these bad boys in and watching the magic happen. Upside down. I still find this hilarious. There's our final one. Now all 16, and we also got the moose dance. Acquire a drigmy charm. That's because they are like little moose that literally dance. It's fantastic if you've never seen them before. Now back inside the planarium, what I want to do is get this all set up and just get our drigmies up and running. So the initial drigmy setup, I'm going to place a source jar right here. I'm also going to place a chest right here for right now. Eventually this will have our other items in here. We'll figure out ways to sort this around. But I want to get the initial setup. We also need a mossy cobblestone, and this does need to be connected next to the chest. And then what we can do is we can activate this with a drigmy. But first, before we start putting a whole bunch of drigmies in here, let's go ahead and contain these guys. So I'm going to use some glass trapdoors, which are fantastic, by the way, and place them up like this, about 2 to 3 high, because I want to make sure that any drigmy that is inside this area is contained within this area. And I think that right there is pretty good. And then we can also now get rid of the bottom trapdoors because we really don't need those. And we have the beautiful spot that is going to house all of our drigmies. So to get started with the drigmies, we just need to click once on here with the drigmy charm, and that's going to convert that into a drigmy hinge. I can then close this up and notice the drigmy is inside here. And then the magic happens. I can just start to click all of the other charms directly on top of this. Now, they should fill out the entire area, and they're not actually going to escape, but this does set our actual sort of bound that we can put containment jars that contain mobs that allow this guy to farm them. Now, it tells us in the book right here that the drigmy's base area is about 10 blocks. And that is very, very important. A drigmy considers its home to be 10 blocks in every direction from its home. So its home is this hinge at the moment. So that means we could put things that are up to 10 blocks away, basically. And just to sort of mark this, I mean, essentially we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, that goes out really, really far. So just to keep things safe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we kept this, and in every side from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we could keep this symmetrical. And we can make sure to fill up some jars and also gives us some room for some decorations, just provided that this is considered all of their home locations. But there we go. We basically have the farm in place, but we're missing like one of the primary mechanics of this. We've got to get mobs inside of containment jars. And we also need to get source here. To contain mobs, we need to make the tablet of containment. And this is a ritual. On the first use, doesn't actually consume any source, but after the first use and after the first mob capture, it will need to be supplied with source. Now, I wonder if I put the brazier over here and ignite this, is this going to have source close enough nearby to work? I really hope so. But this is about the size. We don't want it over here because we could accidentally contain any of these entities. So yes, looks like we got a pretty wide area of about 5 blocks or so. 7 blocks? Yeah, 7 blocks. And for this, mobs can be kind of a pain to deal with. So it's usually best if you sort of enclose an area. So we can give them a little space like this where we can place the mob down in here. And the goal is that they'll just get put into the jar that we have nearby. Now, this is perfect. It's dark time, and I do have myself some cages. I think this is going to be the best items to try and use to collect some mobs. And I want to collect a pretty big range. I want some passive mobs. I want some hostile mobs. The more mobs that we can farm, the better. So the more random things we can collect, the better. These guys really love a variety in their mob farming diet. So a little yoink, beep, yoink, scoop, bonk, hiss, oink, hee-haw, ew, moo, plank. And so now that's just a couple of mobs that we can gather in the overworld, but we do need to go to the nether because wither skeletons I would love to have, so that way we can farm wither skeleton skulls. Oh, and also we can definitely grab a blaze, and that would allow us automatic blaze farming. I mean, we already have this here, so might as well grab a couple of blazes as soon as one spawns. And there we go. Perfect. Yes. Beautiful wither skeleton. That is going to be so helpful. And you know what? These guys could be nice too, potentially for some food. And you know what? Why not? Even a piglin. Now, altogether, that's like 16 different mobs, and I can start to place in the containment jars in here and slowly get the mobs inside of the jars. This, yeah, is going to consume a little bit of source, but it shouldn't be anything that crazy. And it just takes them and stores them inside of the jar. Oh, it looks like we also gathered one of the crabs. I didn't really need this. Actually, what we can do is we can take this jar and I can use it to show you how do you get mobs out of the jars, because that's kind of important. To do this, I recommend like a projectile and a dispel spell. And whenever you use a dispel in here, it sends the mob directly to the top of the jar. And this guy should just get back to work. So now I've got just about all of those mobs. That's all 16 individual mob types. I mean, that's going to be really, really nice. And I think it's going to make the drigmies really happy. Now back into the weird perspective that is our jar. Let's go ahead and set down some pedestals. I like these from supplementaries. They look really, really nice. And this is going to give us a foundation to start the piles of jars that are just going to build up. Because the more mobs that we want, the more of the jars we're going to be stacking here. So let's get our first sets of jars. It's going to look just like this. We're just going to place them right on top of each other and just keep stacking them like this. And now because I have this set up in such a way, we should only need like 4 jars for right now for all 16 to split perfectly. And look at this. They're already pulling stuff over here and we don't even have any source yet. Look at that. It's already working. We don't even have source. What? You know what? Maybe their first mob drop pull is free. That's probably what it is. Now, in this particular case, like some of the mobs are turned kind of funny. We could turn them to face us. It looks like, yeah, we can use our create wrench to turn them to face this direction. Well, with most of this ready to go, I think the big thing we need to do now is get source here. Also, by the way, it's so cool. It actually renders the mobs inside of the drigmy jars. I was not expecting that to do that. But now for the fun part, we can make ender tanks. Now, something cool, you can predefine the actual wool colors that are on top by changing the actual wool that is used in the creation of it, which is kind of helpful if you don't have a handful of dye laying around. So for example, I've got some orange wool, ender tank, and whenever we do create the ender tank, we'll just swap out the wool that's right here. And there we go. Now we have 2 ender tanks that are set to orange, orange, orange. And because we have this whole area chunk loaded, I should be able to take my tank now and just place it here, and it is going to stay constantly filled with lava. Same with the one that it's linked to. Now back inside of our jar, what we can do is place down a void source link directly on top of this. And on top of that, I'm going to place the ender tank and then click this little dial here. And that is going to automatically send lava directly into this, which should fill the source jar, which should provide our drigmies with plenty of source. And now the true magic is going to start happening because mob drops are actually going to start appearing. And we're going to get everything from experience gems to the actual mob drops to wither skeleton skull fragments. Everything that these mobs drop should drop from the drigmies. Except for the allays, for example, and also some bosses don't actually have any mob drops. But the allays are kind of interesting. If you have mobs in here that don't actually have any mob drops, well, all it does is amplify how often it will end up pulling from everything else. Oh, and also our cow is filling the jar with milk. I didn't even know it did that. Okay, so now that the concept is in place, I think I should clean this up and make this look a whole lot nicer. And honestly, with how easy this is to set up, yep, it's time to just dispel all of these guys. Now, because this is sort of like a terrarium, it would be kind of cool if I aligned the bottom section with stone about midway up, and then sort of the midpoint is where actual grass and stuff goes, and we can add some trees in here. There's a surprisingly large amount of space inside of here. It doesn't feel like it when you're in here, but that's because everything is like doubled in size. So you've got these 2 tall glass blocks and things like that. But no, this thing is very, very big. So yes, lining this like so, I need to kind of go in and out of here to figure out like where is a good point. And it is so cool that like this will go all the way up to the top. If you build to the top of this thing, it renders all the way to the top. So I think, you know what, that seems pretty good. And maybe like a whole layer of dirt that runs across. And what we can do is we don't have to fill the whole thing. We can leave it hollow. I don't know how mob spawning works in here, but yes, we can use like our builder's wand, for example. And you know what? This might be really, really nice. We could make this battery template upgrade and drop this in with some copper, like a copper block, and we could charge this instead of using durability. I think that would be something I should have done a long time ago. But yes, now we won't have to worry about like this breaking. Now, instead, it's going to receive power and start to charge up. So there we go. I've got most of that foundation there with stone, but I can make this look even more realistic by adding some random diorite circles, you know, some patches that are completely filled with diorite. That'd look kind of nice. And of course, we can't forget some patches of granite, a little bit of beautiful andesite. And of course, I can't forget to throw in like some ore here and there. Like that's really going to sell it. With all of this in, I've also varied the height a little bit, and I'm going to place in a few layers of dirt. I think though, I want the dirt layer to be at least 2 tall from like some of the highest spots. I think they'll look nice. And something that you may not have known, if you put something like a block in your offhand for the construction sticks, that's the block that it is going to place down. And so you can set your mode to match any, and it'll make it really easy to get this lined up. So I think this is going to be a good level here. Place in a bunch of grass, and then I need to start extending the grass out. So I'll go from left to right here. Try my best to get as much grass as I can in here. Don't want this to be just like a solid flat area either. So I do want to have some like rounded out spaces that kind of raise it on the corners. That's going to look nice when looking from above. Now inside the jar, the light is in here, but it's not actually light enough for grass to spread. So I did have to place down some lanterns, and now grass is actually spreading. So very interesting conditions here inside the jar. Something else, setting the spawn point, I did find is not something that I can do once you build up like this. So I'm assuming this will probably get fixed in the future. Like, it does seem like the only place you can set your spawn point is possibly just in like on the actual ground down here, which is not exactly what I want. Like, this lets me change the spawn point. Actually, you know what? I may have had these setting the spawn location confused. So if I click here and then click here, now it sets the spawn point. Okay, so you have to click on the wall of the actual jar and then set where you want to spawn. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Oh, but I mean, look at this in here. That is awesome looking. Now, after all of that, this is starting to come together. All of the components are now set up. It looks really, really nice. I added this circular area in the center, added all of the different types of the Ars trees in the corner. Most of the grass has now grown in, and I've added some bone meal down on the ground to make it fit. And here we go. So we have our little chest here. We have our area. But this time, instead of trapdoors, I think I want to hide this a little bit differently. So the barrier to keep them all contained in one area, even though I know they will farm within the range of the block, it just, I think, would look much better to keep them all here. And not only does it look better, I think it sort of focuses them on all of the mobs. And I have found better results and more consistent results in making sure that all of the items are technically being farmed if they do stay in a single block space. So let's go ahead and talk about doing this. I'm going to place a slab right here because this is going to prevent them from jumping through this gap, but I want to use invisible barrier blocks. So we can use Ghost Weave to do this. So if I build up a pillar that goes this high, they should be contained in here and they shouldn't be able to get out, I don't think, through this trapdoor. These fingers crossed, they shouldn't. But how do we actually make these invisible? Well, within our Ars spellbook, if we go to our random spell, we can cast invisibility onto these blocks. And whenever we cast invisibility onto them, they do go invisible. And I don't know if it is forever invisible, but technically they are like barrier blocks that are invisible at the moment. So now that we have that in place, I'll go ahead and get the hinge in, and then we should be able to click the rest of these guys in here. As soon as our first one spawns in, just got to get just in the right position here to click them all in. Like maybe right here would work. Yeah, right here. There we go. And we'll get them all placed in. We have our source, and they should start farming the mobs. Like the distance here are within 8 blocks. And yeah, I'm hoping this works. And there we go. Beautiful. And there we go. We now have a mob farm that is within a jar, a containment jar, believe it or not. What an inception, because these are all containment jars. We're in a containment jar. Oh man. And let's actually get a nice view of the outside. We punch the outer wall here, and now we can see the entire farm here. You can't see the drigmies, but you can see everything else going on. We will be able to hopefully see everything fill in. And I want to make sure, yes, the trapdoor did appear, and we can't see the false weave blocks. That's so nice. But this thing right here is technically farming. Something I am noticing, though, the false weave allows you to see through the blocks below it, which is kind of odd in there. But no, outside of everything else, that is such a nice thing. And I'm assuming that we can just pick it up, right? If we want to move it, like it's still named that place. So if we want to put it over here, we can put it over here. This is fantastic. You know what? Huge props to the Ars Nouveau team for putting together something like this, because this thing right here is really, really cool. It's basically a compact machine that also allows your compact machine to be a decorative piece in your base. And so now we have what is essentially 2 blocks, an entire Ars Nouveau drigmy mob farm contained. And so now if you enjoy videos like these, be sure to click that subscribe button and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And guys, with that, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And now that amazing thanks, well, that is going to go out to Kogor. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content. one of the best ways possible. Thank you so much, you absolute boss. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. And as always, thanks for watching.